Welcome to Commerce Guru.
Welcome to the deep dive. If you're listening, you probably want to get a solid handle on global diversity in multinational companies, like quickly and thoroughly.
Right. There's so much information out there.
Exactly. So we've gone through a load of material examples, stats, strategies to kind of boil it down for you. No overwhelm, just the key stuff.
Yeah, today we're really getting into why global diversity isn't just, a nice to have, but actually a core strategic thing for these big international firms.
Okay, so our mission, basically, is to figure out why this global mix is so critical for success now and what actually makes it work on the ground.
Let's do it.
So maybe the starting point is just the nature of these companies. Multinational corporations, they operate everywhere.
Precisely. I mean, by definition, they're spread across continents.
Yeah.
So you automatically get this mix, right? Different countries, ethnicities, languages, religions, gender identities, orientations, socioeconomic backgrounds. It's inherent.
It's just baked in from the start.
Yeah. And this isn't just about demographics on a spreadsheet. It's the foundation they work from globally.
Right. And one source really highlighted this with Unilever, said they have, over 150 nationalities in their workforce?
That's the number, yeah. It's huge. The source even called it a global brain trust.
A global brain trust. I like that. It really paints a picture, doesn't it? All those different viewpoints.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the fascinating part, how this built-in diversity can actually become a real advantage. It's not just window dressing.
How so?
Well, think about it. Different backgrounds mean different ways of seeing things,
Yeah.
tackling problems, finding solutions. That's gold when you're dealing with, all the complexities of different global markets.
Okay, so the potential is there, but just having the mix isn't the whole story, is it? The sources we looked at really hammered this point home.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Just speaking different languages isn't enough. This is where cultural competence comes in. It's crucial.
Cultural competence. Okay, break that down a bit.
It's about developing like a real cultural fluency. It goes way beyond just knowing the words. It means understanding the subtle stuff, how different cultures communicate, maybe nonverbally too, how they make decisions, how they handle conflict, even what they see as good leadership. It varies a lot.
And there was some data on this, wasn't there? Something from McKinsey.
Yeah, a pretty striking statistic. Companies with high cultural competence are apparently 35% more likely to outperform their competitors in global markets.
35%. That's significant. What do you think is behind that big a difference?
Well, it suggests they're just better at connecting, better at understanding diverse customers, building stronger bonds with international partners, navigating tricky regulations across borders.
Fewer misunderstandings, maybe. More trust.
Probably all of that, yeah. They're just more effective in those multicultural environments.
Makes sense. And the solution that seemed common was companies investing in cross-cultural training.
Right. Lots of MNCs are doing this, and not just like a quick one-hour webinar. No, the effective stuff seems to be more in-depth, giving employees actual skills, deeper understanding, fostering empathy, basically helping diverse teams actually work well together.
Yeah, you can see why that's needed. You could have the most diverse team on paper, but if they can't actually communicate or understand each other's styles...
That potential just evaporates.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which brings us neatly to the next big piece. Building an inclusive culture.
Inclusion. There's that great analogy in one source, something like diversity without inclusion is like inviting people to the party but not asking them to dance.
That sums it up perfectly, doesn't it? Inclusion is creating that atmosphere where everyone, no matter where they're from or who they are, genuinely feels they belong.
Like their voice actually matters.
Yes. That it's heard, it's valued, it's considered. It's about feeling empowered to bring your unique self, your perspectives to the table.
So how do companies do that? The sources had some concrete examples, right?
They did. Things like global town halls scheduled across different time zones so people can actually join.
Okay, that's practical. And recognizing a wider range of international holidays, not just the ones from the headquarters country. Also, a big one is employee resource groups, ERGs.
ERGs, right. Those seem to be everywhere now, but operating across regions.
Yeah, that's key. And the Microsoft example was interesting. ERGs based not just on, say, gender or ethnicity, but also shared culture, language, even specific locations.
So getting quite specific to build real communities.
Exactly. It feels like a move beyond just counting heads towards actually fostering connection and support within these huge global firms.
Okay, so it's about creating belonging, but managing all this diversity day to day, that must be complex. How do they actually approach managing it?
You're right, it's definitely not simple, and it's certainly not a one-size-fits-all approach. The sources pointed to a few key strategies that seem common among successful MNCs.
Like what?
Well, we mentioned the tailored diversity training already. Beyond that, many set up global inclusion councils.
Okay, what do?
They sort of guide the local leaders, making sure diversity efforts align globally, but are still sensitive to what's needed locally, the regional differences.
So like a central strategy, but with local flexibility.
Pretty much. And another huge focus is trying to mitigate bias in processes like hiring and promotions, making sure opportunities are genuinely fair for everyone.
How do they tackle that? Bias is tricky.
Things like using standardized interview panels, maybe anonymizing resumes at the initial stages, trying to take subjective bias out where possible.
Right, and there was that pro tip in one source that really stuck with me.
Which one was that?
That the companies really nailing this don't see diversity as just an HR thing.
Yes. That's critical.
They treat it as core business strategy.
Absolutely. When it's woven into everything, product design, marketing, strategic planning, that's when you see the real impact on the bottom line and overall success. It becomes part of the company's DNA.
Okay, let's shift a bit to talent, finding and keeping good people. For an MNC, the talent pool is literally the entire world, isn't it?
It is. And that changes the whole game for recruitment and talent management. They're looking globally now, not just locally.
So what does that mean in practice?
Well, it means actively recruiting from regions that might have been overlooked before, maybe underrepresented areas. This brings in fresh perspectives, different skills.
And boosts diversity at the same time.
Exactly. But it's not just about getting diverse people in. The source is stressed, providing growth paths within the company too.
Right, making sure they can actually move up.
Yes, creating fair, equitable leadership pipelines. That involves identifying diverse talent early, nurturing it, maybe offering international assignments, development programs.
So people can build global careers within the company.
Precisely. It benefits the employees, obviously, but it also massively enriches the company's leadership with diverse experiences and viewpoints.
The Coca-Cola example seemed relevant here, their Global Women's Leadership Council.
Yeah, that's a very targeted initiative, isn't it? Actively identifying, developing, and promoting female talent across their global operations. It shows a real strategic push for leadership inclusion.
Definitely proactive. Now, there was a statistic mentioned around this point about diverse executive teams, but the source kind of cut off.
Yes, I remember that. It said companies with diverse executive teams are more likely to experience, and they just stopped. A bit frustrating.
Yeah, it leaves you hanging. But, I mean, the implication seems pretty clear, doesn't it? Even without the end of the sentence.
Agreed. It strongly suggests a positive link between diversity at the top and, well, some kind of better performance or outcome. You can sort of fill in the blank.
Okay, let's switch gears slightly. How does having these diverse teams internally affect how a company interacts with the outside world, its customers, its markets?
This is where internal diversity directly fuels external success. The really direct link. Well, if your teams include people from various cultural backgrounds, they bring an inbuilt understanding of different consumer needs, preferences, how people communicate in different places.
Okay, so like for marketing campaigns.
Exactly. A diverse team is way more likely to create ads and messages that actually land well globally, that resonate authentically, and crucially, avoid those awkward cultural blunders.
Yeah, we've all seen examples of those gone wrong.
We have. And think about customer service, too.
Sure.
Having staff who understand local languages and cultural context, that can make a massive difference to customer satisfaction and loyalty.
So it makes the company more agile, more relevant in different places.
Totally. More culturally clued in, more responsive. It just makes good business sense in a global marketplace.
The Netflix example seemed to fit here, their global success.
Right. Part of that is surely down to having content teams who get local tastes, storytelling styles.
Like the huge success of K-dramas globally.
Perfect example. They understood that specific market, catered to it, and found a massive global audience for it. It shows that to serve the world, your organization kind of needs to reflect the world.
It provides that essential insight, that lens.
Couldn't have put it better myself.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive on global diversity and MNCs. If you had to boil it down, what's the main thing listeners should take away?
I think the core message is, well, it's that global diversity isn't optional anymore. It's not just nice or about compliance. For an MNC today, It's fundamental. It's essential for long-term success, even survival, in this interconnected world.
Right. It's moved from the edge to the center. And the companies really getting it right are the ones doing specific things.
Yeah, they're actively building that cultural competence we talked about. They're embedding inclusion deep into their culture, not just paying lip service.
And they're empowering diverse talent, making sure people can rise through the ranks.
Exactly. And these aren't just companies that are, ticking along. They're the ones genuinely thriving. They show that harnessing all those different perspectives, making everyone feel valued, it unlocks huge potential.
Potential for innovation, growth, impact.
All of it. The possibilities really open up.
So a final thought for everyone listening. Considering all these insights, what parts of global diversity and inclusion really stand out to you? What seems most compelling or maybe most challenging in the business world right now? Definitely something to chew on.
Absolutely. It's a constantly evolving picture.
It really is. But the bottom line seems clear. In today's world, diversity isn't just helpful, it's essential for navigating and succeeding globally. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Thanks for watching.